Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video I thought I'd give you guys my week 2 currency strategy because a lot of people have been curious what the old Grim's up to for the month. So let's get into it, and we'll also touch on a few more Scourge tips. So I have been delving deep into the Scourge mechanic, and I am now using it as my primary currency making strategy. So yep, I think it's pretty much one of the better ways to make money right now. It's completely insane, and going all in is definitely not a bad idea. So let's get into the strat, and I'll take you guys through kind of like what I've been selling, what the kind of outputs are of the loot, and how we're doing it all in the end. Okay, so the map in question in the background here, which I've been farming infinitely, is Underground Sea. Now, one of the cool things about the Scourge mechanic it's now possible to go infinite on any T16 of your choosing without pretty much any trouble at all. So map sustain is not a question. You actually over sustain by many maps, meaning you have the option to sell your map of choice as well as all the maps that you drop other than your kind of one that you're running, which is pretty cool. Back are the days of running infinite maps of your favorite layout. Very nice indeed. Okay, so we're running Underground Seas. What's the strat and what are we looking to do? Well, my primary objective from running Underground Seas is to accumulate as many Scourge debuffs as possible. You can see in the top left there, it's already at 209, and we haven't even full cleared the map yet. So the Scourge debuff, in fact, caps at 300, and it's absolutely disgusting how powerful this debuff is. The higher and higher it gets to 300, the better and better it becomes. So the main thing that I'm focusing on when I'm farming Underground Seas is of course capping that out, but the reason I want it capped out is because it gives 600% more quantity of items dropped from Scourge monsters, but also 600% more rare items from monsters that are Scourged. So this is completely ridiculous because those two things multiply together in a fantastic way, which is completely disgusting. To kind of give you guys a bit of anecdotal evidence, I've dropped 4 Void Batteries today, and I've dropped 2 Astromentices, which is, obviously those aren't T1 rares, but they're not bad either. They definitely sell for a bit of currency. And that's a result of those two modifiers combining in a very favorable way. Of course, that's definitely, here or there in terms of your RNG, but it is definitely very lucrative in my opinion. So the cool thing about these buffs though is they don't just give you uniques, they also give you, the currency, the tinted currencies, pretty much everything in the game. But the thing I like to focus on is just the map sustain, which is, as I mentioned, you can go infinite now, but also the contracts and blueprints that they drop is also increased, which is very nice. You get tons of contracts and blueprints. I believe in this map specifically, I got 6 contracts just in this map alone, and I don't believe I got a smuggler's stash, which is pretty damn nice considering all I'm doing is using 1 scarab, which is a Kato scarab, some sack frags, Alk, Chisel, Val, Beyond, which is not too much investment for the maps, and it's very easy to make that money back and plenty more. Okay, so we've established that the Scourge debuff is pretty insane. Infinite map sustain, tons of cool uniques, and just more loot in general, and contracts to sell on TFT. Well, very good. It's worth saying also though that obviously the debuff does apply fully to pretty much everything in the game. If you want to farm div cards, you can do that. Pick up maybe like go into the tower, get some nurse cards. That's definitely a viable strategy. Can augment your drop pool with some really good div cards. But the main thing you need to consider is how dense the map is. That's going to be what decides what layout that you pick, because the denser it is, the easier you get to 300, and the more monsters after you get to 300 you slay, obviously the more loot you're going to be getting. You want to spend as little time ramping as possible and as much time reaping the rewards at 300 stacks for that extra juicy magic find, which is really good. Okay, so some of the maps that other people have decided which are reasonably good are like Palace. Some people have said that's pretty good. Some people are actually saying Tower is good, but you really do want a map that can get to 300 because that's where the real juice is, and it's very strong. I'm going with Underground Sea. It's had a really good success for me, and it also is fantastic for accumulating corruption on your maps for scourging them, and that's the second dimension to this strategy. So of course you're getting mad drops all through the map and all sorts of stuff like that. It's great, but you're also getting a ton more corruption than you normally would because you're getting to 300 stacks and killing monsters after you get there. So it's absolutely crazy how fast you corrupt your maps with the scourge mechanic. So if you're doing T1s, you can expect expect to get, you know, one full level every single map, and sometimes you even get more than that if you get an extra juicy map, but we'll get into the details of that in a second here. I don't have to tell you guys how good Scourged Maps are. Whether you're doing T1 or T16, it's just fine, and it's going to be fantastic for your results. So let's dive in game, and I'll break it down a little bit more for you guys so you can kind of see the nitty gritty of the strategy. Okay, to kind of lay out the full picture for you guys of where all of the money is coming from, obviously I'm doing the maps, I'm, you know, running them, and I'm also doing, at the same time, I'm doing Cirrus. So Cirrus is, you know, pretty good. You know, Awakened Orbs, 3 Exalt. Some of the Awakened Gems are pretty good as well. You know, the Conqueror's Exalted Orbs are not too expensive, but the reason I'm doing it is because when you're doing the Conquerors, like, A, it's not too hard if you've got a competent build, but B, it adds a whole lot more juice to your maps, which is obviously more loot. You have a chance of getting influenced items, which can be worth, you know, a few Exalts if you get a good base. And overall, it's just a no-brainer to have the Conquerors on there if your character is able to delete the Conquerors and then also do Cirrus on top of that. So definitely a very, very good one there. In addition to that, I am using Awakened Sextants. You know, getting the off chance to get a harvest is really, really good. You're going to be able to get some crafts from that. But also just like the extra juice, the density is going to give you way more loot, way more modifiers. And you can also get stuff like more rare monsters, which is going to give you way more Scourge monsters and give you more corruption and just speed the whole process up and give you more loot, which is really, really juicy. So this is the loot from my map, which was in the video. So you can see here 6 contracts, 8 maps, it seems. Well, one of them, okay, so 9 maps. 2 of them are Guardian Map. Actually, I think this might be from one of the other maps I did. Anyway, I got all the contracts from the map I did here, and I believe I got 6 maps. I had to run a Veritania because I needed to show my Watchstone, so I think that one of these is from Veritania, and this map is from Veritania as well. But the contracts and the maps here are all from one map, which means it's pretty damn juicy. You can see here we actually got 2 deceptions. So right there, that's around 12 to 16C right there, which is 3 deceptions. So it's pretty damn good. You're going to be accumulating 4 deceptions, Jesus Christ. So we got a lot of currency there from just the contract, and also the maps are reasonably good as well. Let's break it down a little bit further though. So in addition to doing the maps themselves, I am also running Delve. So Delve, if your character is able to do it, is very, very strong as well. So if we go and look at the subterranean chart right now, I am at depth 446, which, you know, it's reasonably deep, but there's going to be a ton of fossils sprinkled all over the place, as well as cities. You know, you can get the bosses. I got an all here I need to do, and you know, obviously all has massive returns, but you know, you got tons of these rare fossils, which is really, really good. And in general, you just drop a ton of good, worthwhile stuff as well. But the real juice is in the cities. The cities gives you a ton more maps, and now suddenly you're getting a ton of maps from the maps, and you get a ton of maps from Delve, and you're just basically map man. You're made of maps, and when you're made of maps and you have bulk maps, that means that you can sell those maps to other players who aren't leveraging Scourge as well as Delve to get a ton of over sustain. Specifically players doing stuff like Atoll, Tropical Island, Core, you know, other map layouts which really want specific tile sets which don't have the ability to over sustain and infinitely sustain. Those are going to be your target market. Specifically stuff like Tropical Island, as well as Core and Atoll. Those are the maps that I'm favoriting. And they're definitely going to contribute a large sum of currency to your overall gains. Selling these maps in bulk is always fantastic, but I'll teach you guys another trick. So I basically price my entire map tab at 25.5, and people PM me for the weirdest maps, you know, canyons, shores, you know, all sorts of stuff. I think someone even PM'd me for like, you know, some ports and some, you know, all the maps. Basically, if you have 5 of them, people can come and buy them, and you know, it's weird. It might be one-off, but you know, overall, it's pretty damn good. Now, the maps that you do want to sell for a fixed price is, of course, the Tropical Islands. If we quickly price check these, if you have 5 of them, let's see how much they're worth if you have 5. It looks like these are about, you know, you could probably sell them for about 8 or 9C in bulk, which is pretty damn good currency, especially when you're getting a lot of them from Delve as well as the maps that you're running. If you obviously triple favorite them, that's going to be really good for you. The other one is Core. I think I just sold all my Cores. Actually, I got 1 left. Let's take a look at how much these are in bulk. Okay, so these ones, I've been underselling these, it seems. So these sell for a lot. Oh, whoops. Losing a little bit of money there. So these ones are pretty damn good in bulk as well. If you can get a lot of these, they're going to sell quite well. I haven't actually been selling my atolls. I think I priced them too high, but let's see how much these are. Kind of get a bit of an idea. Okay, so these are about 6 or 5C. Maybe I priced those right now, and we'll go 5C, so 50, 10, and then we'll price those up as well. Maybe someone buys them as well. So you can see that you got a ton of maps. Another good one to hit is Park. If you don't want to favorite Tropical Island, you can favorite Park. That sells quite well to the Legion farmers as well. And you can also decide to sell some of your underground seeds because you are going to have more than enough of them. Trust me. How many do I have right now? So I've sold, 100 plus today. Oh boy, my map tab is full again already, and I also got more maps in here. So it's definitely going to have an overabundance of maps available to you, and you can also just be selling them at whatever price you want because they're essentially free, and they're pretty damn good. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the juicing and the rolling. So my strategy for the rolling is to chisel, alk, and then val the mods. So basically the reason I do this is because the item quantity of the map actually gets multiplied by the Scourge bonus. So if you've got 100% increased quantity, that's double loot. And then you've got the Scourge bonus on top of that, that's 12 times loot to a white map when you're at 300 stacks. It's crazy. Obviously, you get the rarity on there as well. It's just really, really effective. You want to have the highest kind of quantity and rarity possible. You can see this one's a real juicy one, and it's going to be really, really effective. You can get 8 mods, and it's like you start getting like more magic monsters, more packs, like more rare monsters on this one, and it all just contributes to the machine, and it all multiplies together, and you start getting really, really juicy maps with lots of loot, and it's really, really fun to do them as well. Okay, so you're going to roll them like that, and then what I like to do is I like to use the sacrificial fragments. You can also use like some of the other fragments as well if you want, but they get a bit annoying to buy, and they're not super effective. So I use the sacrificial fragments. I use dusk, dawn, and sometimes I use noon, depending on what scarabs I have available to me. Right now I'm full on sulfite and negro delve, so I haven't been using sulfite scarabs. But I also do use noon when I'm not using sulfite scarabs. But I generally always put in some form of cartographer scarab. I'm not sure if this applies to contracts. I don't know if they're considered maps. Let's see here. We're not 100% sure, but it definitely applies obviously to the maps, which is fantastic. You're going to get more maps, more underground seas, more tropical islands, the works. And then you can just feed that into the economy, and you'll get some money back, and it's just more loot. Pretty much no way that you don't make your money back if it's paid like basically anything. Like, okay, if you can take one of your maps that you drop, like a tropical island or something like that, and you pay that amount for the scarab, it's pretty much a no-brainer. You're gonna make your money back. I'm paying about 5C for gilded right now in bulk, and it's been really, really nice for me, and I haven't felt bad about using them at all yet. So it's been pretty good experience. So that's pretty much the extent of the juice. In addition to that, I am also rolling Beyond on every map. The reason for rolling Beyond is because Beyond monsters obviously drop a ton of maps themselves, and when you're doing Out Chisel Val with a Carter Scarab, they're going to drop a ton of maps. They also have a good chance of dropping contracts as well, but they feed your Scourge bar quite a lot. So you can like shoot one pack, it'll blow up, and then you get a full Scourge bar. And then you can shift straight into the dimension and start slaying monsters. Now, I really like to spam shift in Underground Sea so that I can get up to 300 stacks and, really consistently. So I'd recommend doing that as well. And Beyond enables that, and it pretty much always will pay for itself pretty easily just from like one map drop, one contract, anything can like pay for it. It's really, really effective, and I'd highly recommend running it. Overall, I think it's a pretty good choice. So yeah, pretty cool. So let's talk a little bit about the Watchstones. So my idea with the Watchstones was that the more pack size, the better. And the reason I wanted pack size is because Scourge monsters, I'm pretty damn sure, are affected by pack size. And obviously the more monsters in the Scourge dimension, the more stacks you're going to get, the more corruption you're going to get, the more loot you're going to get. It's just fantastic, and you really want to go for that. So I got some 2% pack size Lyra Arthanes here, which is giving me 6% pack size, and then I also have a 3% one here, which is pretty damn good. So I got a total of 9% pack size, which is equivalent to 2 or 3 mods on a map, which is really, really strong, and it's going to make your maps really, really juicy, really thick. And it's going to obviously contribute and funnel into the Beyond spawning as well, and it just gets real dense, which is really nice. Some alternatives to this are, of course, like if you wanted to go for Beyond Watchstones themselves, that would be pretty good. If you wanted to go more rare monsters, more magic monsters, it's okay. They kind of have a similar effect, but I would get the pack size ones. I think they're really, really fantastic, and I would definitely recommend them. Okay, so that's pretty much the Watchstones. Overall, pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about the Atlas passive. So Lyra Arthane, unfortunately, isn't the best area for juicing up maps, just vanilla. It has a lot of really strong Atlas passives for kind of more currency-based strategies, but for just pure juicing, it's not super duper strong. So what I've taken here is exotic goods and trespasses. This is reasonably good. It can drop scarabs, 6 links, as well as just raw currency. Like it drops chaos orbs fairly often. Like a stack of 5 chaos orbs is not uncommon. And then I've also taken secret stash and inside job. It's okay. You get some contracts one-off here and there, but it's not super impactful. I think if there was a better map in another layout and in another region, you would definitely be making way more money. For example, in Glennick, if there's a T16 you could go for in Glennick, it would be absolutely crazy. You could leverage Abyss as well as Beyond, and it's crazy how good that combo is. You can really turn up the juice levels and you would be making way more money. But there's just really not that many good maps in Glennick with the density you need to get to 300 stacks. Similarly in Haywork, obviously there is some really good nodes here. Science is crazy good. Basically every time you roll the scarabs, you're going to get 5 gilded scarabs times 4 is 20 gilded scarabs. This is great. Definitely a pretty good alternative, but the only real good map over here is Alleyways, which isn't a bad map, but I don't believe you're going to get to 300 stacks so easily over there. And then the last one, which is really good as well, is Valdos. Valdos overall, it's really good. It synergizes very well with Delve, and it's got the Harbies and also the Delirium if you want to go down that route. But it doesn't really have any good T16s either other than Wharf. Overall, not too bad. Okay, so those are your kind of options. I like UGS. UGS is very, very powerful, and it's my pick. So let's move on to a little bit more advanced stuff here. Let's talk about Scourging Maps here. Okay. So you have 2 options when you're Scourging Maps while you're mega juicing. You can either do it on your T16 of choice, which is basically like a no-brainer, and it's going to be really, really effective, or you can do the T1 strategy. So there's pros and cons for both of them. Let's talk about the T1 maps first. So the pros of T1 maps is that they Scourge faster, and it's very, very unlikely that you're ever going to die. You can also put them in a separate region to your farming zone, meaning you can just have your watchstones in there and kind of set and forget them, which is pretty damn strong. Obviously, the pick of most people is Haunted Mansion now. It's pretty consistent, but a lot of people are also liking Silo, which is also a reasonably competitive option as well, and maybe even better than Haunted Mansion as well. It's just a little bit more hard to acquire. So overall, definitely not a bad pick, and Scourging those on low tiers is going to yield you probably more currency per hour, and it's going to be pretty damn good. And, obviously you can kind of do all the stuff with the watchstones, the shenanigans. But I have now been kind of shifting my focus over to Scourging T16 maps. And the reason for that is that it's just basically seamless. There's basically no kind of disjointedness, and you don't really care what modifiers you get because you can just run that map anyway. To kind of give you guys an idea, if you're able to run the T16s, you basically have an infinite supply of fodder to stick into the oven and cook it up. And when you do cook it up and you fail, it doesn't matter. You can just run that map anyway. But the real reason I'm so gung-ho on doing T16s is because, as I mentioned, I'm pretty damn sure, almost certain, that pack size affects how many rare monsters as well as just normal monsters in the Scourge dimension, overall. Okay, so the reason that this is good is because you are already chisel alch valing your T16s. And obviously, if you're chisel alch valing, well, you're going to have some very high pack size and quantity maps. And this obviously synergizes very, very well when you're Scourging them up. So let's say that this was something which, look at this map. It's got Nemesis, so it's got 21% more rare monsters, and it's got 44 pack size. That's crazy. Obviously, combining that with some more rare monster kind of watchstones or something like that is going to be very, very, very lucrative. Or even just running your pack size watchstones are going to be just fine as well. Compare this to this. It's like 25 pack size. It's okay, but you can get a lot more juice from doing your T16s, which are already mega juiced. And you can kind of cherry pick the ones which are super duper nice and chuck them in there and cook them up. Now, the other benefit of doing T16s, other than the fact that you have endless supply and also you get the extra juice, is of course that your layout is actually favorable, like perfect for Scourge, because you're already on the layout which has the most Scourge monsters in it, UGS. So that's really, really effective as well. You're kind of like double dipping on the value there. But in addition to that, you also get to get a few more super duper rewarding types of kind of rewards. So previously, you were really bummed out to see maps. You were pretty bummed out to see stuff like Abyss Jewels or Fractured Bases. This suddenly, especially influence items, this suddenly becomes a little bit more enticing. If you want to combine any of these with, plus area level watchstones, to get some 86 influence bases, this can be a viable strategy. Obviously walking in and pulling out 90 influence bases, all 86, bound to have a 1 or 2 exalt base in there, unless you're super unlucky, which is quite alluring. You can make quite a lot of money for that, and it's going to be reasonably effective. And then on top of that, obviously you have the map roll as well, which is just going to shower you in maps. Now, of course, your maps will take longer to scourge, they will be way more hard, and there's not going to be too many people who want to buy them, and it might not be in a really, really good zone where you've got all your watchstones, but it might be worth considering in the long run as a strategy, as it's pretty damn low effort, and it's pretty seamless overall, which is pretty good. Now, there is also another benefit to doing this. Obviously, you're running the map, which gives you the most Scourge juice, which is super strong. And in addition to that, a lot of the actual Scourge implicits with the shifting, like you can see this one, gain exposed to corruption stacks twice as frequently. So you're literally getting to 300 twice as fast, meaning you're getting almost like a double juiced map, meaning this map is going to be extra juicy. On top of the actual drop rewards, some of the things that happen are just completely ludicrous. So it can be really, really nice there, and it can definitely amp up your loot rewards even more, which is good. And it also synergizes very, very well with Warped Sluice. When in a Scourge map, items absorb 5% more corruption for each time the map has been transformed. So when you get a scenario where you're cooking up a rank 10 of the double corruption stacks, you can sometimes level up your other maps in your inventory like 3 times. It's completely absurd, which obviously, that all compiles and just so much synergy here on the loot, which is pretty damn cool. Now, let's talk a little bit more about Delve, because, a lot of people are probably interested in that, and it does seem to be very, very rewarding. To kind of talk a little bit about where the money comes from on Delve, obviously you get all of the normal stuff. You get the currencies, you get the, all of the resonators, the fossils, and stuff like that. But I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what you're on the lookout for. So the main things that I like to look out for are obviously the map nodes, the city nodes, the bosses, but more specifically the faceted and fractured fossils. These are the ones which are the big monies, specifically faceted fossils. You can scoop a ton of these up when you get to around like 400 to 500 depth. They start really popping up, and there's a lot of them around. So there's one right over here, Molten Cavity Magma Fissure. This is the faceted fossil, and if you're playing CFTS, it's actually a really good build to do this on. It's very easy to beat this boss. And there's another one over here. So you can see they're everywhere, and there's just like 40C a pop. That's like, a third of an exalt, which is pretty damn good. So I'm definitely a big fan of that. Also, the smuggler stashes, the walls, it's pretty damn good as well. Sulfite scarabs are horribly underpriced for how good Delve is right now. You can get an absolute metric ton of loot. So I'm having a blast, man. This is by far one of my favorite leagues ever. I feel like I'm getting very rewarded for engaging in the league mechanic, and it's all I want to do every map. I'm always trying to clear it, and it's super duper rewarding. So hopefully you guys learned something from this video. If you're kind of a little bit earlier on in this the league, and you're kind of looking for some earlier on strategies, they're actually starting to become more profitable as the economy kind of wakes up and gets online, and we're going to be covering them extensively in future videos. I have a lot of really cool stuff for you guys coming up, and it's fair to say if you enjoyed my CF kind of TS guide, there's going to be something like that on that level for currency making coming pretty soon. Hopefully I didn't overpromise, but if you liked this video, you learned something, or you're just enjoying the content in general, make sure to subscribe and like the video. It really helps out. Hopefully you guys are enjoying the league and having a lot of fun. I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.